In 480 BCE, a showdown was brewing that would echo for eternity. The Persian Empire, a colossal power stretching from the Indus Valley to North Africa, was on the move. Led by a king who called himself a god, Xerxes I, a truly massive army, one of the largest the world had ever seen, was poised to extinguish the flickering flame of Greek freedom. At a narrow coastal pass called Thermopylae, a tiny band of Greeks, led by 300 Spartans, made their stand. For 2 days, they held back the tide. History tells us they were betrayed. A hidden path, a traitor, and a heroic last stand that ended in annihilation. Their sacrifice became the stuff of legend. But what if there was no betrayal? What if, against all odds, the 300 Spartans had won? To get what a massive deal this was, you have to understand the stakes. The Second Persian invasion of Greece was an operation on an unbelievable scale. Xerxes wasn't just coming for a fight. He was coming to conquer. Ancient historians claimed his army was so big it drank rivers dry. Modern estimates are a bit more conservative, suggesting a force of between 70,000 and 200,000 soldiers. But either way, it was a terrifying multi-ethnic juggernaut. Faced with this threat, the Greek city-states were scrambling. Many just gave in. But a handful, led by Athens and Sparta, decided to fight. Their plan was to use geography as their ultimate weapon. The Athenian-led navy would try to hold the Persian fleet at the Straits of Artemisium, while the army would block the land route at Thermopylae. But here's the thing, Sparta's contribution seemed shockingly small. Not from fear, but because of religious law. A major festival, the Carneia, and the Olympic Games were underway, forbidding all-out war. So King Leonidas marched north with just his 300-man royal bodyguard. As tradition tells it, he chose only men who had sons to carry on their family names. They weren't alone, though. They were joined by about 7,000 other Greeks, a brave but hopelessly outnumbered crew. For 2 straight days, this small force worked a miracle in that tight pass. Packed into a phalanx, their long spears and heavy shields were an almost unbreakable wall. They threw back wave after wave of Persian troops, even Xerxes' own elite unit, the Immortals. But the pass had a secret weakness, a mountain trail that could bypass the Greek position. And a local man named Ephialtes knew all about it. In our history, he sold that secret to Xerxes, sealing the Spartans' fate. But this is where our story takes a sharp turn. Picture it, the end of the second day of battle. Ephialtes, his motives lost to history, maybe it was greed, maybe fear, slips away toward the Persian lines. But in this world, Spartan vigilance is absolute. Leonidas isn't just a king. He's a master of war who knows betrayal is a weapon. He has scouts watching the mountains. A pair of shadows detach from the rocks and spot the furtive figure. They don't shout. They don't ask questions. A javelin flies. Ephialtes falls, and his secret dies with him. The mountain path stays hidden. The trap is still set. The next morning, Xerxes is furious. His best troops have been humiliated. His losses are staggering. He ordered a full-scale, relentless assault. He's going to throw men at that pass until the Greeks are buried under the bodies of his soldiers. What happens next isn't a battle. It's a meat grinder. For another day and then another, the Spartans and their allies hold the line. The phalanx, perfected for this very kind of choke point, becomes a machine of death. The ground is slick with blood. The piles of the dead form a gruesome new wall. The Persians have to climb just to reach the Greek spears. Persian morale, already shaky, shatters. These aren't patriotic soldiers. They're conscripts from across the empire who fight because they're afraid of Xerxes. They see their friends butchered by an enemy that feels no fear and never seems to get tired. Whispers fly through the camp. These Greeks aren't men, they're demons. Meanwhile, Xerxes has an even bigger enemy: logistics, an army that huge needs mountains of food and water every single day. With supply lines stretched and disease starting to creep through the camp, Xerxes has to choose, starve or retreat. But in this timeline, the humiliated god king makes a final fatal mistake. He refuses to accept defeat. He gathers what's left of his personal guard and royal cavalry for one last desperate charge. He will lead it himself. It's a magnificent, terrible, and incredibly foolish sight. The charge funnels into the same deadly bottleneck. Horses panic on the mounds of bodies, and in the swirling chaos, a Spartan spear finds its mark. Xerxes the Great, King of Kings, is struck from his horse and vanishes into the fray. His body is never found. The king is dead. News of Xerxes' death rips through the Persian camp. It's total chaos. The chain of command dissolves. An army becomes a terrified mob, running for their lives. The invasion isn't just stopped, it's broken. Leonidas and his Spartans emerge from the past not as martyrs, but as living legends. At the same time, the Greek fleet at Artemisium faces a now leaderless and panicked Persian navy. Hearing what happened at Thermopylae, the Persian admirals lose their nerve. The Greeks attack, and the Persian fleet is scattered and destroyed. The biggest immediate consequence is what Thucydides doesn't happen. The Persians never reach southern Greece. Athens is never sacked and burned. The whole psychological narrative of the war changes. This isn't a story of heroic sacrifice. It's one of absolute victory. The gods, it seems, favor the Greeks, and above all other Greeks, they favor Sparta. The war doesn't drag on for another year to a final battle at Plataea and Mycale. A newly unified Greek army goes on the offensive now. They don't just defend Greece. They push into Persian territory with a speed and aggression unheard of in our history. This impossible victory completely flips the script on the balance of power in Greece. In our timeline, Athens rose to prominence after the war, using its naval power to form the Delian League, which became the Athenian Empire. But here, all the glory belongs to Sparta. When a new Pan-Hellenic League is formed, Sparta is the undisputed leader. There's no Delian League, and therefore no Athenian Empire to rival Sparta. The Peloponnesian War, the disastrous civil war that bled the Greek world dry, never happens. Athens remains a center of culture, but it's a junior partner, always living in the shadow of Sparta's military might. This united, Spartan-led Greece is far more aggressive. The counteroffensive against Persia doesn't stop. Flushed with a sense of divine destiny, Spartan-led armies march deep into Asia Minor, carving out new territories. The Persian Empire, already reeling from the death of Xerxes and prone to revolts, begins to crumble decades ahead of schedule. Fast forward 100 years, and the world is almost unrecognizable. The Spartan hegemony has hardened into a true Spartan empire. But this isn't an empire of trade and tribute like Athens built. It's an empire of military garrisons and iron-fisted government. It's an empire of spears. The golden age of Athens becomes a casualty of this new reality. It still happens, but it's a quieter, less brilliant affair. Philosophers like Socrates and Plato still ask their questions, but speaking too freely about democracy is a dangerous game in a world run by a military oligarchy. The chaotic, creative energy of Athens is tamed by the rigid order of Sparta, and it's a brutal order. The Helot system, Sparta's state-sponsored slavery, is exported across the empire, breeding massive resentment and sowing the seeds of future rebellion. Tensions simmer as other Greek states, like a resentful Athens and a subjugated Thebes, hate living under Sparta's thumb. The Spartans are great soldiers, but terrible rulers. Now let's jump forward another 2 centuries. Sooner or later, A new challenger was bound to step into the ring: Rome. In our history, Rome expanded into a Greek world that was politically broken and exhausted from fighting itself. The legions had a relatively easy time. But in this timeline, Rome faces the Spartan Empire, a single, militarized superpower that has dominated the Eastern Mediterranean for 200 years. The clash is inevitable. It's the unstoppable force of the Roman legion meeting the immovable object of the Spartan phalanx. This wouldn't just be a war. It would be a century-long struggle for the fate of the world. Who wins is anyone's guess. Perhaps the long, bloody conflict prevents either side from ever achieving the total dominance Rome did in our world. And what about Macedon? In the shadow of a mighty Spartan empire, a figure like Philip II would likely never get the chance to rise. His son Alexander the Great might have become just another talented general in the Spartan army, his ambition forever checked by the state. His whirlwind conquest that spread Greek culture across the East never happens. The legend of Thermopylae itself is transformed. It's no longer a beautiful tragedy about sacrifice. It's the founding myth of a brutal empire, an epic of absolute victory. The phrase "come and get them" isn't a last gasp of defiance. It's the triumphant roar of a world power. From one traitor's failed betrayal, a harsher, more martial world was born. A world where the 300 lived to become conquerors. Their victory didn't just save Greece, it remade it in Sparta's own image, building a West founded on discipline and military might, rather than on democracy and free thought. But what do you think? Could a Spartan empire have ever truly lasted? Or was its rigid, brutal society destined to collapse from within? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.